It began in Barrow, not with glory, but with graft. Smoke in the sky, boots on the cobbles, hope in every home. We built ships, we built streets, we built each other. And somewhere in it all, a ball started to bounce. From the docks to the terraces, a dream took root. Barrow didn't just build a club, Barrow built a legacy. In 1875, in a proud industrial town on the edge of the Irish Sea, a group of working men came together to form Barrow Football Club. Not for money, not for headlines, but for pride and for the love of the game. They played wherever they could, from Cavendish Park to Little Park, on borrowed pitches and muddy fields, with leather balls and no frills. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. As the sport changed, so did Barrow. In 1897, joining the Northern Union and officially becoming a rugby league club. It was a defining moment, the first of many. The shirts now represented more than just a team. They carried the weight of a community. From the turn of the century through the 1930s, Barrow built its reputation the hard way, with grit, guts and local pride. The crowds grew, players became local heroes, names like Charlie Carr, Bill Burgess Sr. These were the icons who laid the foundations for everything the club would become. But Barrow needed a proper home, a stadium worthy of its ambition. And in 1931, that vision became a reality. Craven Park opened its gates for the first time. Built for the people, by the people. A place where generations would gather, more legends would be born, and the town would roar as one. This wasn't just a rugby ground, this was the heart of Barrow. By the late 1930s, Craven Park was more than just a new ground, it was a fortress. Barrow had reached their first Challenge Cup final in 1938, facing Salford at Wembley. The result didn't go our way, but the message was still clear. Barrow were arriving. But then came the war. Rugby paused, but Barrow didn't stand still. When the game returned, something had changed. The club had a purpose, ambition and talent. And at the heart of it all stood one man, Willie Horn. A name that means more than medals. He wasn't just a captain, he was Barrow. Elegant with the ball, fierce without it. He led with vision, with voice, and with fire in his heart. England captain, Great Britain captain, a true rugby league legend. He inspired teammates, he terrified opponents, and he lifted a town every time he pulled on that famous shirt. And today, he still stands with us, cast in bronze outside Craven Park, a permanent reminder of what greatness looks like, of what it means to lead with pride, to wear the badge and carry the weight of a town. Around him, a team of giants, unforgettable names. Billy Little, Phil Jackson, Jimmy Luthwaite, Frank Castle, the list goes on. All of this was building to that unforgettable day in 1955. Wembley Stadium, Challenge Cup final, Barrow 21, Workington 12, and for the first time ever, Barrow were Challenge Cup winners. This wasn't just a win, it was a moment that defined a generation. It was Barrow's moment on the national stage, and we took it with pride. If the 50s gave Barrow its crowning glory, It was the 1960s that gave us another local hero who became a national star, Bill Burgess Jr. A man that could catch pigeons, fast, fearless and clinical. A Barrow lad through and through, following in the footsteps of his father and carving his own legacy with every sprint down a touchline. But he wasn't alone. Around him stood a team built on effort, honesty and grit. Players like Kirchin, Brophy and the unforgettable Tommy Dawes. This was a squad that believed in the shirt that they wore. By 1967, Barrow reached Wembley for the 5th time, another incredible Challenge Cup final appearance. The result didn't fall our way, but the journey there said everything about the club's spirit. Barrow weren't just hanging on, they were still swinging with the best in the game. By 1973, a new figure took control, Frank Foster, a former Great Britain forward with fire in his belly and discipline in his coaching. He would go on to lead Barrow to a club record 349 competitive matches. Barrow's identity was forged through players who gave everything. Players like Phil Hogan, a homegrown star. He was powerful, skillful and smart. Good enough to earn Great Britain honours, and in 1978 he became the most expensive forward in rugby league history. In the middle was Eddie Smiler, a name that still echoes around the ground today. He was tough, loyal and uncompromising. Eddie led with his actions, another Barrow lad who became a cornerstone of the club. Alongside them, we had the grafters, players like Malcolm Flynn, Derek Hadley. This was a team of doers, not talkers, who in the 75-76 season were crowned second division champions. By the end of the decade, something had changed, and Barrow Rugby League, true to its roots, were ready to rise again. And rise again we did. After a decade of rebuilding, the early 80s brought a shift, not just in performance, but in purpose. Barrow launched its own club lottery, a bold, community-driven move that brought in vital income. It was the fans funding the future, helping build one of the strongest Barrow teams in living memory. And in 1983, that belief paid off.
Barrow have ex-Rugby Union stars, Steve Tickle at full-back, Ian Ball at centre, Mark McJennett from Newport in the pack, but Steve Mossop at loose forward, a most promising youngster. But one of the most promising of all, young David Kearns. The scrum half, the most promising scrum half. Australians rated him very, very highly, and he's looking to topple the Widnes scrum half if he can, Andy Gregory.
Under the leadership of Tommy Dawes, a club legend turned coach, Barrow lifted the Lancashire Cup for the second time in the club's history. It had been nearly 30 years since the first, but this one felt just as sweet. At Central Park, Barrow faced a Widnes side packed with stars, but the blue and white stood tall. They fought for every inch and came away with a famous 12-8 victory that reignited the pride of a whole town. This wasn't just a team, this was a brotherhood, and every man played his part. That trophy wasn't just the result of 80 minutes, it was years of graft, belief and backing from the terraces. It was a community win, funded by the people, built by the town. The late 80s and the 90s brought change, not just to Barrow, but to the game itself. This was the era of Super League, summer rugby, mergers and rebrands. And through it all, our identity shifted. From Border Raiders to Barrow Braves. Different names, same club, same soul. And while some clubs had money and headlines, Barrow had something else. Barrow had loyalty. This town stuck by its team, and the lads who pulled on that shirt gave everything. They may not have been superstar squads, but they were working class warriors. Many born just down the road, and it was their effort, their pride, that kept the flame alive when the future looked uncertain. By the new millennium, Barrow brought with them a quiet determination. They may not have been making headlines, but they were making progress. This was a team built on belief, on local pride, and leading the charge was an icon who became the heartbeat over the next decade. Darren Holt. Calm, composed, and deadly with boot to ball. Holt didn't just guide the team, he carved his name into the record books as Barrow's all-time leading point scorer. A player who made things happen week in and week out. This wasn't just a rebuilding job, it was a revival. And in 2004, Barrow earned promotion. In 2006, they reached the National League Two Grand Final. The town started to believe again. The crowds came back, the noise came back, and Barrow were rising. Not with flash, but with fire. The 2000s reminded everyone what this club is made of. Pride, grit, and players who'd run through walls for the badge on their chest. By 2014, a familiar face returned to lead Barrow forward. Paul Crary, a local lad, a former player, and a coach who knew exactly what this club meant to the town. He didn't come in with promises, he came in with a purpose. And from the day he took charge, he set about building a side with pride, passion, and homegrown talent.
T. Ritten's free. T. Ritten's going to go listen to the noise here at the Manchester Prestige Stadium as T. Ritton makes history for Barrow, the first ever player to score 7 tries in one game. What an unbelievable achievement.
A team that will go on to win trophies, to win promotions, and to win the heart of the fans that followed. But the evolution didn't stop there. Barrow Raiders became more than just the men's first team. They became a club for everyone. The launch of Barrow Raiders Ladies, blazing a trail in the women's game. The introduction of LDRL, giving opportunities to players who've never had a platform before. The growth of community links, junior pathways, school programmes, all designed to keep rugby league alive and thriving in the town where it belongs. And with the club's guidance, we didn't just survive, we became a beacon for what rugby league can be. Inclusive, community driven, and proud. This club is more than just a team, it's a legacy. And the next chapter, well, it's only just beginning. Barrow Rugby League, 150 years strong, still here, still proud, and still ours.